So you've probably seen in the last few days on Twitter, X, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you get your media, that there's a trend of this guy who wakes up in the morning and kind of increments his day, showing what he's doing, the time he wakes up, how he prepares for the day. And it's kind of become a joke because he'll get a bowl, fill it with water, dunk his face in it, and, like just kind of excessive stuff. Really kind of slightly strange things as well, like rubbing banana peel on the face and all this kind of stuff, right? It's a little bit bizarre. But it kind of leads into something that is a problem in humans in general. Let this land first before you make assumptions, because this is overthought, and the conclusion might take a second to get to, so please bear with. Humans are a social species, and especially men find it threatening when other men are supposedly outcompeting them. So this man is obviously well built, looks after himself, and is very financially stable, to put it tamely, hugely successful, pretty attractive man that's doing these things. And it's very easy as a social species to look at that and say, how can that be criticized? What's the problem with that? Yeah, it's really weird. He wakes up at 4 a.m. every day, and the first thing he does is piss around for 2 hours, and stuff like that is what a lot of people would say, because that is what on the surface it looks like it is. But, and again, not to go kind of too extra with it, but it is one of those things that obviously he's hugely successful. He's done very well for himself, and maybe that's off, exceptional circumstances like generational wealth or, hands up or whatever it might be. But to get to that point, you still have to work hard, There's very few people in the world that are just handed things, And even if he's still successful when it comes to self-imaging, content creation, all that kind of stuff, which a lot of people want to do, At the end of the day, it's seeing someone that's more successful than you and feeling jealous, to be honest. Envious, sorry, rather than jealous. But that's the problem, it's so easy these days to see people, and this is maybe a problem with social media that are successful, and it's so easy to kind of punch across and be like, nah, well, they've done this, that, the other, and they've got all these things, and they're just really weird and stuff like that. That's the natural reaction, the defense mechanism, because you're not doing that. And it kind of leads into another thing of so many people say, it must be so easy to be like a streamer or a YouTuber or whatever, they just sit in front of a camera or, case in point, or they, play video games and all this stuff. And yeah, on paper, that is all you do. But it's also the dedication, the hours behind, if you are someone that actually puts effort into your content. Let's be real, this channel isn't exactly quality, high content. It's just thoughts, opinions, and occasional facts. But in the general, for people that are actually putting effort into their content, that's, got teams and people to pay for, and it's their full-time job, it makes sense that these people are working hard. They have to. Things don't just fall in your lap, It's the classic saying of, you miss every shot you don't take. It's easy to say, you want to be an influencer, or you want to be a YouTuber, or you want to be a footballer, or you want to be a musician, but you've never tried kicking a football. You've never made a video. You've never released music. It's kind of, you can't get angry at other people that are doing successful things in that field if you yourself have not tried, at least, And a lot of it does come down to jealousy, because it is one of those positions, especially these days, where social media exacerbates people's lifestyles. It's like the best possible lifestyle. You'll see your mates taking photos of where they're at, essentially, photos at the pub or the restaurant or on holiday or just in general. And it's like, oh, cool. No one really puts out stuff that's kind of more messy. A lot of people don't air out their laundry on social media. A lot, some do, but there's individuals that will always be that way. But last, it's kind of the frustration with the modern world that everything's so accessible, that these people that are so much higher than you socially or economically or whatever it might be, are so much more obtainable. And so you can no longer just walk across, the street and go to the posh area of the city or the nice area of the country. These days, everything's accessible. So it's no longer the nice area of the country, the nice area of the city. It's the nice area of the world. It's what people globally are doing. And global fashion trends, global trends in general have become so much more compacted because of the internet. And so it's easier to see these days how people are living in opulence, and, you know, kind of easier in some ways that people make fun of it, because it's easy these days to just make an account randomly with, you know, the name, I don't know, Squiggle37 or something, and just comment under, no, Dwayne The Rock Johnson's posts or someone else that's successful, and just kind of make fun of them. You see it a lot in football or sports in general at the moment. There's a lot of kind of anonymous comments that are just hurting players and stuff, because they're doing their best most of the time, and, you know, still getting abuse and flack for, you know, oh, you missed an open goal, or you scored an own goal, you got a red card, all this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's stuff that you can control, but it's also a cause of frustration, and it's often projection through not necessarily failure of the individual that's abusing them, but kind of high volatility when it comes to emotions. And certainly when it came back to the first point, the guy doing the morning routine, the day routine, with stuff like that, that is projection, most likely, of feeling insignificant in comparison, no? And so the best way to kind of hide that embarrassment, hide that shame, hide that self-deprecation, really, is to punch back and say, no, you're the problem. This guy's weird. This guy acts in a certain way, and despite the fact he's successful, he's a weirdo, you know? And you see it a lot. Always the line that are used by schools is, oh, the people that bully people, they're the ones that are actually hurt, and it might be true. It's kind of a weird one. There's a lot of complexes that are case by case. It's difficult to say in general what the problem is, but in general, despite saying that, it often does feel like projection. It feels like kind of mitigating like the issue, you know, and kind of then projecting it back out rather than sitting on it, dwelling on it, and thinking, right, well, this guy's doing this stuff. Is any of that stuff that could be useful in life in general? And, you know, it's maybe excessive to look at like a silly video online. This is naturally overthought, as said earlier. But it is just interesting to think, you know, how people would rather punch down, punch across from threads, rather than kind of analysing, thinking, right, that could actually be useful. And yeah, that does sound kind of like sitting down and like the whole hustler generation, which is kind of a problem as well with this day and age, is the bad role models and that stuff. But that guy honestly doesn't seem to be that damaging. You know, selling online courses is always going to be funny. It's always going to be one of those things that seems a bit surreal. Obviously, it's becoming more and more normal now, especially post-lockdown. But it's always going to feel a little bit kind of, yeah, strange. Buy the online course or buy the Hustlers University, whatever it was, you know. So obviously that route, if it works for you, it works for you. Naturally, it's important to look into the individual that you're aspiring to be or copying things from, because, you know, there will be elements of that person that might be worth taking, and there'll be a few that maybe aren't in some cases, especially with like Andrew Tate, for example. There will be things that, you know, even he does that are brilliant. There are great things that people probably should take on board, but at the same time, there is a lot, especially with people like him, that maybe shouldn't be. But yeah, that's the thoughts on the matter. Humans are honestly a social species, and that is best presented by social media. The highs and the lows, more the lows on social media, to be honest, or certainly that's in the algorithm at the moment on apps like Twitter, due to the lack of the dislike button. So you have to ratio the tweet to kind of disagree with it or quote it or reply to it, and that causes interaction, more views, more engagement, more people see it, more people agree with it, disagree with it, and it's just a cycle of vitriol. So yeah, bit of a problem, but nonetheless kind of interesting as a cross analysis of humans, you know. Yeah, not much more needs to be said than that, because it will just go into kind of complete rambling. So, thank you for watching. Do all the YouTubey things, like, dislike, comment. Keep forgetting to say that, so yeah, cool. Alright, thanks for watching. And yeah, see you around. Bye-bye. Cheers.